The Hoop Heads Podcast is brought to you by Head Start Basketball.
Hey Hoopheads, I wanted to take a minute to shout out our partners and friends at Dr. Dish Basketball. Their Dr. Dish shooting machines are undoubtedly the most advanced and user-friendly machines on the market. Sign up now for their Virtual Camp 2.0 featuring 10 days of workouts with pro trainers from the Dr. Dish family. Learn more at drdishbasketball.com and follow their incredible content at Dr. Dish B-Ball on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Mention the Hoopheads podcast and save an extra $300 on the Dr. Dish Rebel, All-Star, and CT models. Visit drdishbasketball.com for details. That's a great deal, Hoopheads. Get your Dr. Dish shooting machine today.
Hi, this is Bob Walsh from Providence College, and you're listening to the Hoopheads podcast.
Prepare like the pros with the all-new Fast Draw and Fast Scout. Fast Draw has been the #1 play diagramming software for coaches for years. You'll quickly see why Fast Model Sports has the most compelling and intuitive basketball software out there. For a limited time, Fast Model is offering new subscribers 10% off Fast Draw and Fast Scout. Just use the code SAVE10 at checkout to grab your discount, and you'll be on your way to more efficient game prep and improved communication with your team. Fast Model also has new coaching content every week on its blog, plus play and drill diagrams on its play bank. Check out the links in the show notes for more. Fast Model Sports is the best in basketball.
Our goals this summer were to be one of the most connected teams in the country. It starts with communication and trust. We want to be one of the best conditioned teams in the country. That starts with what we do and what we sacrifice in the weight room and the time and energy we put into it.
Welcome to episode 9 of our Hoopheads podcast series called Mentailty with Dwayne Killings, season 1 at UAlbany. The series will document Dwayne's first year as the head men's basketball coach at the University at Albany. We plan to record and release 2 to 4 episodes per month with Dwayne and/or players, coaches, administrators, media members, and others associated with the Great Danes basketball program to get an inside look at what being a first-year head coach at the Division I level is all about. If you're looking to improve your coaching, please consider joining the Hoopheads Mentorship Program. We believe that having a mentor is the best way to maximize your potential and become a transformational coach. By matching you up with one of our experienced mentors, you'll develop a one-on-one relationship that will help your coaching, your team, your program, and your mindset. The Hoopheads Mentorship Program delivers mentoring services to basketball coaches at all levels through our team of experienced head coaches. Find out more at hoopheadspod.com or shoot me an email directly, mike@hoopheadspod.com. Follow us on social media at hoopheadspod on Twitter and Instagram, and be sure to check out the Hoopheads Podcast Network for more great basketball content. On this episode, Dwayne and I discuss his first 100 days as the head coach at UAlbany and how he's preparing his team to succeed both on and off the court. Hello and welcome to the Hoopheads Podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here without my co-host Jason Sunkel this afternoon, but I am pleased to be joined on the road by Dwayne Killings, head coach, University at Albany. Dwayne, welcome.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Things are good. I have no complaints. I am about ready to head out on vacation another day or two, so excited to get out on the road and not doing any recruiting, unfortunately, but I am going to be heading out to some national parks. So I'm looking forward to getting on vacation for a little bit. So 100 days for you, man. How are things? What's the state of affairs? How you feeling right now at this point?
I'm feeling good. The second to last day of summer recruiting, so I'm in between gyms, driving in the great state of Indiana. I got Bobby Jordan from Wagner riding shotgun with me right now, just trying to maximize time. But things are going really well. The third week of summer workouts just finished up and trying to finish up this recruiting session here. But we've been happy with the progression of the program and just the things that we're doing as we build our identity and kind of figure out who we are and, laying the foundation for what we're hoping is a fruitful season.
What's been the thing that has gone the best to this point when you look back at your first couple of days and you're thinking about what you want to accomplish? What's gone really, really well that has maybe exceeded your expectations?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is buy-in. Buy-in from the community. I think people have really embraced, obviously we push this idea, this mantra of mentality. People have really bought into it, the new mentality of the program, just of the things we're trying to do. I mean, when you think about walking into, a new program, you want to give it its own unique look. They've allowed us to invest in the resources that we have on campus, whether it's upgrading the locker room or offices. They've done that. I think the people have really bought into who we are, just as people, not just as coaches, which is really exciting. I think they've shared our vision. They've bought into that. And then also we got buy-in from our players. I mean, we brought in 9 new players, 7 scholarships, 2 walk-ons. And I think the thing I worried about the most was when you put them all in a room, what is that going to look like? What is it going to sound like? And they've all bought into what we're doing, because I think the kids all share the same mindset, the same mentality. They like to work. They want to win. They're trying to figure out, how do they connect the dots to make sure they're a winning program and not just build a foundation, but we're hoping to try to be able to win games this year, which is hard to do, but I think we got the right guys to do that. And it all starts with buying in and doing this whole thing together. So it's been great from that perspective.
So to go along with that, you mentioned summer workouts. What do those look like? What have those been like? What have you been most pleased about just in terms of on the basketball floor?
Yeah, I think we create a culture of work. I try to, the way we do things, our staff is on the court about 15, 20 minutes early, just making sure guys are getting ready to rock and roll. I try to come down on the floor about 5 minutes before practice right now. And guys are in there, they're lathered up, they're ready to work, they're mentally, physically engaged and locked in. That's been really, really exciting. I think to do what we're trying to do, and in the American East for our program, you got to develop, you got to work. It takes, the work that we're going to do with the coaching staff, but also for these kids to get in and, those unseen hours, get in with managers and getting shots up, putting peer pressure on each other to play one-on-one, or I got 1,000 shots while I got 1,200. Those kind of things really produce a winning culture, and I think we're starting to do those things. And then it's been great to see guys, get an extra lift, get a yoga session in, do the things that are necessary to maintain their bodies. I think that's been really exciting, as we build this thing out. And then, on the court and workouts, I mean, we got guys that like to compete. We got guys, I think we've increased our athleticism and our length. There's a lot of versatility. So we've been able to explore our talent on the offense and the defensive side of the game and just try to figure out our identity. We actually had a speaker come in, Carl Hicks, a guy that's mentored me through my career. He's worked in the NBA, worked at the ACC, the SEC, president of the NCAA. And he said, the thing that I'd say about your team is the next step is, who are you? And I think that's what we're trying to figure out. How are we going to win games? How are we going to define, what we're really about? And that's something that I want to be patient about. That doesn't have to be rushed. But I think we're taking the right steps forward.
Where are you in that process in terms of putting together what your style of play is going to be offensively and defensively? Obviously, you come in with a system and some things that you believe in, some core tenets, but where are you in terms of looking at the personnel that you actually have and what you're going to put out on the floor, and then how that translates into how you want to play? Where are you in that process?
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people about that, NBA coaches, college guys, assistant coaches, and I decided to, at the beginning, not to give us any offensive structure. I wanted our guys to tell us who they were. So if we got a 5-man Paul Newman that thinks he's a pick and pop guy, well, let's see it. Now, you've been working on that. I want you to show me what you got. Who's a leader on the floor? Who's going to organize? Who does sprint to the corners and understand spacing, and who doesn't? I wanted them to kind of tell us who they were, both good, bad, and different, which is fine. We'll demand a lot defensively, a lot of freedom offensively, especially off of the defensive rebound. I had each kid, come up and they sat in a chair and I said, tell me 2 things. Why are you at Albany? However you want to answer that question. Who's one person here they would want to dedicate this journey to? And then the reasons why they came here. It could be because they're trying to chase the dream, or they bought into the culture, or they love an assistant or a player, and I have a pre-existing relationship. Our goals this summer were to be one of the most connected teams in the country. It starts with communication and trust. We want to be one of the best conditioned teams in the country. That starts with what we do and what we sacrifice in the weight room and the time and energy we put into it. And then, we talked about, being one of the best teams in terms of communication. That's just talking openly, understanding it's hard to communicate in a basketball game. You got to be in great shape. Those are things we can control, regardless if we're in the Big East or the American East. We can control those things. And those are the first steps we want to go towards. And then, we're teaching guys how to share the basketball, teaching guys what winning looks like, how hard winning is. And I think as we do those things and learn, what are our deficiencies, but then what are our strengths, that's going to help me identify, what we want to do on the offensive end of the floor.
Absolutely. From the communication standpoint, you're getting guys in and you're meeting with them, you're talking with them. And I think when we think communication, at least in that term, when we're talking about coaching, oftentimes I think people think about you communicating with the players. How do you start to develop the communication between guys? You obviously got a bunch of new players in the program. You're trying to build those connections, not just between the staff and the players, but amongst the players themselves. So how do you as a coach facilitate some of that communication between players to be able to build the kind of close-knit group that you want, not just the relationships between players and coaches, but also players and players?
Yeah, I mean, we do small things like, call it names on passes. I mean, that's a part of communication. Obviously, when you're doing your defensive drills and your fundamentals, you want guys to communicate. You want that to be natural. But, I'll get to points in practice and I'll stop it. And I'll put a senior over here on one side, another senior on the other side, split up the team and tell them, okay, here's where we're at in practice. We're doing great. Now we want to keep the standard where we are. How do we do it? Coach your team up. And it's great to hear that, like, what these guys are saying. They'll challenge each other. They'll say, okay, hey, we're doing great, but we got a freshman who's got to get in better shape. Hey, you got to fight through this right now. You got to be mentally locked in. It's great to hear them thinking and saying the right things. The leaders have to be high level communicators. Points of practice where the guys, the standard that we want. This isn't what we do. So now, how are we going to fix this? Whether it's a drill, it's an individual that's just not getting it done right in that moment. And I'll tell those guys to figure it out. And I don't want the assistants or me to always be the voice. Those guys got to, police and hold each other accountable on the court, because there's going to be moments, through adversity where we're not going to be able to call a timeout. We're not going to be able to run out there and fix everything. They got to do that together. So we're trying to create, moments, trying to create different small pockets in practice where we just help them think and train their mind to challenge each other and be open to communication. But the thing I've loved the most is when these guys have challenged each other early on. I mean, you're talking about they're getting to know each other on week 3. I mean, there's been some hard conversations that's been embraced, because I think the kids are willing to accept it because they know we're all bought into trying to do the same thing, and that's trying to win and be the best team we can be.
Have you seen a guy or two sort of step forward into a leadership role and kind of take the reins of doing some of the things that you just described in terms of trying to set a high standard and demanding that of teammates? Is there a guy or two that's sort of stood out? Not that you have to name them by name, but just curious if there's guys that have emerged at this point.
Yeah, I think they all have in their own right, whether it's been going to a donor's house and, organizing, getting flowers for the wife of the donor and giving those. That's a form of leadership. And then, in practice, the first day of practice, we were messing up a layup drill, which is fine. And he stopped. He said, hey, coach, can I say something? He said, this isn't acceptable. He went into his reasons. And I thought that was great, that he had the confidence to do that. And also the understanding that we have another kid, a fifth-year senior, Trey Perry, who's been in the NCAA tournament, played for Fran Duffy, played for Aaron McKee. And, he comes from a culture of winning at Temple. Again, we were doing some things and we weren't getting it right. And, he talked about focus and how important focus was. And that was on day one. So the kids are thinking the right way. And then, we got another kid, Jamelle Horton, who was with us in the spring. We inherited him from the previous staff. He's a really good player, works really hard. The first day he talked about, hey, this is what this environment's going to be like. And this is what coach wants. And this is what the assistant coaches are going to be like. And that's a form of communication and leadership, because he understands what we're trying to do, because he's been through it. He's bought into it. And so I think there's been different guys that have stepped up in different ways. We have another freshman from Miami, Florida, just a guy that works every day. Last one to lead the gym, last one to lead the weight room, first one in the gym, first one in the weight room. He leads by example. And I think it just speaks to the character of the kids that we have in the program. And you need high character guys to win, in college basketball. You can't cut corners. And I think right now we're fortunate to have guys that they're touching every line right now. We got to, maintain that standard.
Where are you personally at in terms of your transition from assistant coach to head coach? Are you feeling more comfortable in the role? Does it feel like it was something that you were always meant to do? Have you slipped into it pretty easily? Has there been some things that have been maybe a little different than what you thought? Just where are you at in terms of your adjustment to being the head coach and running your own program for the first time?
It's really fun. I mean, it feels natural. I've said it a bunch. I feel like I'm supposed to be where I am now. I'm not naive to say that I have all the answers. I don't. This is the time of year where everybody's undefeated. Everybody's programs look great and the kids are having a good time and there's no adversity, and the adversity that you have, you create it so you can control it. But it's been a ton of fun. The thing I'd say is that we had a bad practice on Friday and, you internalize that and, you process, well, why? And I remember I talked to my dad, I'm a little annoyed. He was like, well, I'll tell you this, it ain't gonna be the last bad practice that you have either. And, but I think, what I try to do is, okay, well, why? What can we fix? Was it the approach? Was it the flow of the drills? And you're just trying to figure it out. Trying to make sure that you get this thing right to the best of your ability. But I love it. I mean, I love the school. I love the opportunity. Love going to work. Love the challenge. Love the staff. It's everything I could have wanted. I think the challenge of it all is, time. Time moves by fast. It's not the time of the day to do all the things you want to do. But my assistants have said it. We move at a pretty rapid pace because we're trying to build this culture, not just on the court. We do a lot. We have a leadership academy. We've invested heavily into the community, into the campus. We're trying to bring people in to talk to our kids and be around practice and just kind of, again, peek behind the curtain so they know exactly what we're doing and how hard we're working. That takes a lot of time. And a lot of people, it's not a reflection on other people's programs, but, I think we invest heavily into the individual, which is important for me. I don't want any of our kids to say that we didn't arm them for success in society, not just the basketball court. So, we're doing a financial literacy program. We're doing a media training. We've talked about different culture pieces for us. We have what we call mentality meetings because it's not just a word. You have to understand the meaning of it, and that meaning changes for a lot of different reasons, but it's the core of who we are and what we're trying to create. So, I'm putting my all into it. My staff is putting their all into it. Our players are putting their all into it, and so is our administration. So I think it's a great time in our program. So I think that's why everybody's falling in love with doing this.
Absolutely. When does the financial literacy, the media training, the leadership academy, how are you carving out time for that now in the summertime? Just give us an idea of what that looks like for somebody who maybe is interested in doing something similar. And then how do you anticipate that continuing as you roll into the fall and the school year and on into the season?
Yeah, we it's been in the morning. In some instances, we're not taking class right now. Originally, some of our guys are taking class, I should say, so we kind of build it around. But it could be in the morning, could be in the afternoon. We kind of manipulate practice times around it. I think it's just as important, and I think that's part of the buy-in that we've gotten because guys understand we're really trying to grow, as people and as individuals, and that always happens everywhere, for their own personal journey. So, we'll do those things based off of our availability. We have a speaker, Kevin Carroll, coming in town to do some work with our staff and our team. He'll be with us this season. So, he'll work with us in the middle of the day and he'll watch a practice in the morning. In a couple of weeks, we have a gentleman from Northwestern Mutual who's a former athlete who has knocked it out the park, in his career. And, he's going to talk to us about success and how he got that and the discipline he got from sports. And that will be 4:00 in the afternoon. I think you just make it work. I mean, if it's important, you can make it all work. Challenge I'm trying to figure out and balance is, my family, fitting that in. So get my kids over to hang out at practice or sneak home for lunch to get that time in because I want to make sure I invest in them just as much as I am, my team. But it's been really rewarding. I think people have been really excited. And I think the thing that we want to do next is tap into the campus community. There's great leaders on campus and try to get them to engage and, pour into our student athletes in our program. Because I think it's an important piece of what we're trying to do in it. I think we're trying to separate our program a little bit by doing this kind of work so that our kids know they're going to get a high level experience academically, athletically, and personally. So those are some of the things that we're working on right now. But it's been awesome, and we'll continue to do it. We have we'll have something during fall break in October. That will probably be the last one that we'll do in terms of the Leadership Academy. And we'll do like not a retreat, but we call it an advance, in preparation for the season, where, we really focus on our culture. What are the challenges that we face that stop us from winning games, whether it could be personally, athletically, distractions, whatever. But, we want to be hands-on and really be direct about, the things that stop us and the things that help us, win games, not just ball screen defense. I mean, there's a lot of distractions in the world when you think about college athletes. So we want to deal with that stuff right away. So some of the stuff we're trying to do, and, it's just our approach. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but it's the right thing for us.
Yeah, I was just listening to, right before we hopped on, I was listening to a podcast with, I can't remember the woman's name, who was the reporter who wrote the book about Giannis. And she was talking about his rookie year, that there was a moment where he really wanted to go home because his family hadn't gotten a chance to come over to the United States yet. And he was just so down and missed his brothers. And you think about growing up in the household that he did with all his family. And then all of a sudden he's there as a 18-year-old kid in Milwaukee with no one around him. And so many times I think we look at athletes and we just say it's their performance on the court. And as you said, it's not just about how they defend a ball screen or how they're making the right read. It's also about getting to know them and what's going on in their life. And oftentimes that can have a huge impact. And I think what I hear you trying to do and what I hear you saying is we're going to be able to reach the whole person and not just the basketball player. And to the point of this whole conversation, when you get kids to buy into that part of the program, that, hey, we are truly a family. We are somebody that, we are a staff that cares about you, not just in between the lines, but also somebody who cares about people off the floor and all the things that you're doing. I think that's something that anybody who sees that is going to look at it and go, man, that's something that I want to be a part of. And this was interesting because we sometimes forget when we see athletes, we forget that they have this whole entire life that's out of the public eye, whether it's, you're a college student, you're going to class and you got your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and you got this and that. It's just, like all that stuff that we don't always think about if you're sitting in the stands, how it impacts kids. And yet we know that those have huge impacts. You talked a second ago about your own family and trying to figure out, I'm doing all this stuff with my team, but how do I make sure that I incorporate my family into what I'm doing? It's a challenge for everybody to perform not only in the arena, but you also have to be able to balance that with the things that are going on in real life and then be able to still do what you have to do when you step between the lines. And I think you're giving the kids the tools to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think the other thing, I think what it is I think it's our duty as coaches, as mentors, as leaders to do this. But also, I mean, if you're going to coach the kids in my career, if you're really invested in a relationship, you can coach them harder. You can unlock another level of talent that they don't know exists because they trust you. They become so vulnerable with you. So, I mean, that's why we do it, because I think our program really puts an emphasis and a huge investment in relationships, whether it's recruiting on campus in the community or most importantly with our players, because, that's going to allow us to make sure this thing goes right, whether it's academically or athletically or, in their personal life. Because if they're struggling with, a girlfriend, well, they're only going to open up and tell you if they trust you. If they're struggling academically and there's, a deficiency you really got to work on, they're not going to let you in on that unless they trust you. And, when it comes to what's going on in the court, if you really got to push them, if you really got to motivate them, if you got to drag them to a practice or a game, touch their hearts and their minds, there's got to be a level of trust in there. And it starts with a really authentic relationship.
So you're out on the road recruiting. Tell us a little bit about what it's like being on the road after having not had the opportunity to be on the road and missing out on last year's live recruiting. Just what's it like out there for you and Bobby and everybody else that's on the road recruiting and out at tournaments and checking out the scene in AAU? What's it look like out there?
A lot of players, a lot of tired players right now. I mean, it's third, fourth week of recruiting. I think, guys have been giving their all. They're worn out, but, it's great to be back. I mean, you get a chance to get in gyms and see coaches. And I think when you talk about, professional development, that's kind of like our professional development. You're in a gym, sitting with guys and sharing a meal and sharing ideas. In terms of talent, there's a lot of talent out there. And for me, getting this opportunity as the head coach of this program, you haven't seen some of these kids that were, recruiting beyond film. So now you get a chance to lay your eyes on him. You see how he competes, see how he walks in the gym, see how he carries himself, see how he responds to a referee, see how he moves around with his friends. I mean, it's kind of the biggest piece of what we do from the recruiting standpoint, especially with AAU. So it's been great to be back. It's been a lot of fun to see some guys, and now you go back and you share your notes with your staff and try to find the next right guys for your program. And, hopefully for us, we can beat Wagner and Bobby Jordan, a couple guys.
He's throwing down the gauntlet on you, Bobby.
He's sitting here. He doesn't know if he should say anything.
Hey, come on, Bobby. You're a friend of the podcast, man. You can jump in. You've been on so many times. You can jump in anytime you want.
At Wagner, we let our work do the talking.
Okay, there you go.
I like it.
All right. I understand. That's good. Hey, that's good.
We're excited in the preseason, but we're gonna wait till it goes down.
Yeah, I like it. His competitive spirit just came out. The Philly in him just came out.
There it is. Dwayne, how do you split up where you guys go as a staff? What's the process for if you guys are going out on the road on a weekend? How do you determine who goes where and who's here and there? Just what's that process look like?
Yeah, we try to, our goal was, especially since it's our first year being together and, trying to figure it all out. We wanted everybody to see every kid that we're recruiting. So every assistant kind of made it through the Nike system or the Under Armour system just to see guys and get a perspective. So that was kind of our approach, and I think it's been pretty healthy. So when we come back, it's not a conversation between me and one assistant. It's a conversation for our whole staff to say, did they like, Matt Griffin, so to speak, did you like the point guard? Did you like the big man? What didn't you like? I saw him on a good day. I saw him on a bad day. I think it makes, for a little bit healthier conversations. And then, some guys, Coach Tibbs spent, a number of years working for the Albany City Rocks, for instance. So he's been through the EYBL system. So, he's got a lot of equity, when he walks in the gym there with the Nike guys. So we, send him out there. And then, Matt Griffin, obviously spent time in Philly. So he went to Atlantic City where a lot of those teams were. But, again, every program does it different. That's just how we want to get comfortable, I think, with our recruiting and what we're trying to do together. So.
From a geographic standpoint, is there how important is it for you to look at, I guess, local guys is maybe the right way to say it. How important it is for you to recruit well in state in terms of building your program? How do you prioritize that? Obviously, talent and character and all those things have to play into it, but all things being equal, recruiting locally, where does that fall on your list of priorities?
Yeah, we're obviously going to put a big premium on the Northeast corridor. Our entire staff's from there. I think there's a lot of players in that pocket that can, help our program. And I think that's, one of the things our university is hoping that we see a lot of kids, from that region. But we're presently, recruiting some kids, outside of the region as well, just through relationships. And I think people have gravitated towards what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. So, we're never going to turn down good players and kids that fit into our program. But obviously, we want to make sure, we have a feel and perspective of the kids in our own backyard, so to speak.
How's the adjustment, just personal life, finding a house, getting settled into it, getting your family, getting ready for school? Where are you guys at in terms of just the transition as a family?
We got the house. There's a ton of boxes in the house. We're trying to get them out.
All right.
Stuff put up where they need to be, and make the house a home. And schools, I left that up to the boss lady. I'm not making that decision. She was an educator for a number of years, and she's got the best feel for that. So she's working on it. But kids are doing great. They're in summer camps, and in the community, they're making friends, and my wife's making friends. So, hopefully by the fall semester, we're pretty much settled and, start, making it really feel like home, but it's going well.
What's the next big thing on the horizon as you look ahead? What's the next phase in what you're trying to do as you kind of try to plan it out as you head towards the season?
Yeah. Perfect question is we're pulling into the gym. I think, the first, off the court, it's probably connecting the student body to our program. You're talking about coming off COVID, we got 6 guys that played in the program last year that came back that really didn't have a chance to experience the campus or the community because of, the COVID disruption. So trying to connect our program to that and, also learn the community a little bit more when, there's 14,000 students, very diverse school, tons of energy, great place. I want to get to know it more. From a basketball perspective, just get our guys to understand how we're going to win, continue to build our defensive identity, get our guys to be familiar and comfortable with our offensive system and, work at that day by day. And I think we're taking the right steps. And then, when we get back in the fall for the fall semester, it's going to move fast, but, I've been really happy with everything we're doing. And, we're trying to be really, really intentional and be thoughtful in how we plan things out. And at the end of the day, you got to be really detailed, and details are going to be the difference as you're doing this whole thing. So I think we've been really detail oriented and built it step by step.
The season's on the horizon. I know it's still a couple months away, but man, time is going to go fast and I can just hear the excitement in your voice. I know that for everybody to be able to get back and have what we all hope is going to be a normal season, as you said, get some students and get some fans back in the arenas and be able to watch you play. It's going to be super exciting. You got more recruits to see. You and Bobby are going to just lock down some guys. I could tell. You guys are going to lock down some guys today. And I appreciate you taking the time in between gyms to jump on with us. And we will continue to follow your progress there at UAlbany and excited to be able to be part of the journey and glad we were able to connect today in between gyms on the recruiting chip. So Dwayne, thank you for joining us today. Bobby, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, man. You be good, man. We'll enjoy your vacation. We'll talk to you soon.
I will, man. All right. Thanks a lot, Dwayne. We'll talk to you soon. And thanks to everyone out there for listening. And we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks. Hey, hoopheads. We all hate ankle sprains, and they happen way too often. Ankle injuries are the #1 sports-related injury. Arise is trying to change that. With the iFast, your athletes get preventative protection and full mobility. Athletes no longer need to wear bulky braces that limit performance and give mediocre protection. Anyone playing sports should be using these products. Keep your athletes in the game. Don't wait for them to get hurt to take action. Visit www.arise.com/team pricing to learn more. That's ARYSE.com.
The Hoop Heads Podcast is brought to you by Head Start Basketball.